Wow, this is the shot of the day. Yesterday, like 24 hours, we were on that journey from Kochi to Sydney. Look at this view. This is just whole opera house in one frame. This is just fantastic. You need to come to this botanical garden, have a walk on this promenade to enjoy this view. Wow, I have got two ferries, two manly ferries crossing each other. We're having lovely time. It's warm when you are in sun, and then when you are outside the sun area and inside the shades like this, a massive tree creating amazing shades, it is cool actually. It's very cool, very windy at the moment. So we are getting very nice sea breeze from Sydney Harbour, and that is just spectacular. What a wonderful sight this is. There are just so many people at the moment. It's just gorgeous weather, and that particular cruise ship has added at least another 4,000 people to this crowd, and all the areas are different sitting areas for those restaurants, and they are just enjoying extraordinary food at the Circular Quay area, where this view is probably one of the world's best. Hello, good morning from Sydney. Our QF68 landed very nicely in Sydney on 3rd of January 2025, and we thought we'll just stay a couple of nights in Sydney. It's getting a bit windy today, and look at that fountain. It's getting displaced from the actual falling path. And on the left hand side we have St. Mary's Cathedral. This is a beautiful cathedral in the heart of Sydney, and this is fantastic. Hyde Park, we can walk and you can spend the whole day here. It's a beautiful garden and a walkway. And we can see Sydney Eye, Westfield Tower, where you can go up and enjoy extraordinary Sydney skyline. Wow, this is going to be raining soon. So now we are going to the Royal Botanical Garden, and that will be pretty spectacular. So from the Hyde Park we have been walking towards Botanical Garden, and this is a gorgeous day today in Sydney. And first we had Hyde Park Barrack. We had a nice little tour of Hyde Park Barrack, and then we had 1816 Mint, the Mint in Sydney, and then we had New South Wales Parliament, and then this is the State Library, New South Wales State Library, where we are standing now. And opposite to this New South Wales State Library we have this Botanical Garden in my background. So we'll enter very soon. And we are crossing this road, and look at this road's name. It's called Shakespeare Place. Wow, this is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. There are so many helicopters are flying at the moment over Botanical Garden, and this is the entrance to the Sydney Royal Botanical Garden. What a wonderful fountain this is, where we entered Sydney Botanical Garden, Royal Botanical Garden of Sydney. And this is the map of Royal Botanical Garden of Sydney. I think we are here, right? Shakespeare Place. This is the Shakespeare Place. We are here, and we just will be walking as far as we can. There are lots of visitor maps kept here, so we can just take one, and so basically we can just follow this map. I was reading on internet about this Sydney Botanical Garden, Royal Botanical Garden in Sydney, and originally this was a farm, and they started growing agricultural products around 1788, and this was probably the first farm following the first fleet to Australia. But the soil was pretty poor and they couldn't actually grow anything properly, so instead of a farm they converted this area into a botanical garden, and also they named this as a scientific institution because this was an agricultural research institute, the oldest scientific institution in Australia, and so they historically 1816 they converted these into this botanical garden where they did a lot of experiments about growing different variety of crops like cotton, tobacco, and sugarcane. And so from that reputation originated this Sydney Botanical Garden as the oldest scientific institute in Australia. This is pretty organized. We have very little time today, but we will try to cover as much as possible. It's a very bright and warm day today in Sydney. It's hot but not too hot. And canopies and these beautiful walks, they're just mesmerizing. And obviously in Australia, as I mentioned in our previous videos around Australia in different botanical gardens, they're very, very nicely preserved and well decorated. And as the oldest botanical garden in Australia and oldest botanical garden in Southern Hemisphere, this is a special place. This is even better. Now we are at the cross section, and at this junction we are taking a little bit of steps to go down one level, and there will be, I think, few more variety gardens to watch. This is a very, very nice building. I think they have some exhibitions in this building. So we are now walking on a road that says that about 5 to 10 minutes, approximately 8 minutes time, we'll be going at the waterfront and we'll be able to see Sydney Harbour and Opera House. So that will be really nice. This is huge, and this is just fantastic paradise for botanical studies and agricultural studies. I think they have variety plant across the world, as we have experienced in other botanical garden in Adelaide, in Hobart, in Melbourne, and also in Brisbane. So very similarly, this is also very gorgeous, ornamented, almost picturesque. But I don't want to go into the details about the plants because I have very little knowledge. So I'll just enjoy this environment. That's what we do. We have a very quiet and very nice walk always in the botanical garden, and today's weather is just making it extraordinary. And from the Royal Botanical Garden in Sydney, while you are walking, you can see all these skyscrapers that you can see from Circular Quays. Wow, what a beautiful sight this is. So pretty. Massive trees and very well maintained. And look at these summer flowers of Australia. Different pansies and few other flowers. They're just gorgeous. And we can see Sydney Harbour. You can just wait here. Beautiful shade. Sunny day like this. You are dehydrated. You can just have a little rest. In the Royal Botanical Garden in Sydney, while you are walking inside, you can actually look at all these skyscrapers that you can see from Circular Quays. And in our front, we already have the water, the Sydney Harbour, and we'll be able to see the bridge and the Opera House. And look at that, that's the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Wow, this is so nice. We'll be able to go to the waterfront and we'll be able to see some aerial views of Sydney Harbour soon. As I mentioned earlier, this was the first agricultural farm in Australia. I don't know whether that's the correct representation, but this was the first farm following the first fleet. Anyway, 1788. And then in 1816, this botanical garden was formed because of bad soil. And what a spectacular location this is. I think it could have been a waste if this was a farm today. This is just has to be a proper public place now. Look at this little lake or little pond. In Melbourne Botanical Garden there is an ornamental lake, that's the central piece. Here it is just extraordinary as well. But I think these ornamental lake or this pond, it's nothing compared to what we have in our front, Sydney Harbour. Wow, I'm not going to stop my camera now until I reach the water. This is just spectacular. Look at this tree. Wow, I don't know how long this is here. Maybe 200 years since the beginning, 1816. We're having lovely time. It's warm when you are in sun, and then when you are outside the sun area and inside the shades like this, a massive tree creating amazing shades. It is cool actually. It's very cool, very windy at the moment. So we are getting very nice sea breeze from Sydney Harbour, and that is just spectacular. Look what we have got now. This is Botanical Garden at its best. We are approaching the water. The view is just mammoth, huge. This is always my favorite place. Today it's quite windy at the moment, so you can see water is pretty rough. It's a lot of waves here in Sydney Harbour. And look at this walkway across the Sydney Harbour, along the Botanical Garden. It is just spectacular. A lot of cruise ships are busy, and I can see one heritage cruise ship also, a tall ship. Maybe James Craig, I don't know. Maybe James Craig is just having a wonderful time. Look at this environment. We just came across like 20 minutes, half an hour walk, and then we just arrived from that gate, from that fountain gate to this waterfront. Now we have Sydney Harbour. We can't touch it, but it is actually physically touching the Sydney Harbour. And look at this walkway. It actually goes up to the Sydney Opera House and the bridge where you can see the bridge and the Sydney Opera House. This is just fantastic. And with this amazing weather and this color of this water, it's making pretty spectacular. It is most enjoyable. And look at all those different sizes and shapes of the boats. And I can see a Manly ferry is going super fast. How fast this ferry is going! This is Manly ferry, leaving Circular Quays and going to Manly. We're having a little stroll, and Sydney Botanical Garden's primary thing is the location, and it is just enjoyable. And this walking path across this harbour along this shoreline is just pretty spectacular. From here we are getting water from the harbour. This is probably one of the best spots in this botanical garden where you can enjoy the whole Sydney skyline and the Sydney Harbour all together with the garden. Wow, this is fascinating. And I'm following Arunima, and look at that. We have now Sydney Bridge, Sydney Harbour Bridge, and the Sydney Opera. Both are visible. So we are just following this walking trail. On the right hand side we have this amazing botanical garden, which you can spend whole week to study botany, and you can go for a walk for the whole day. We have very limited time. This is probably all we can cover today. Maybe we'll come back some other time if we want to capture all these plants. Wow, I have got two ferries, two Manly ferries crossing each other. This is spectacular. Wow, this is the shot of the day. Yesterday, like 24 hours, we were on that journey from Kochi to Sydney. Actually, yesterday and today, both these days, we're having amazing time. Going to Watson Bay, Wilson's Point, and today at Botanical Garden. This is just a glorious time we're having, and we are privileged. And look at these super expensive suburbs. What a view they have every day. Waking up, they're having these wonderful views. I think that's why they're paying this high price. Okay, that's the Kirribilli house. That's the Prime Minister of Australia's house. So our Prime Minister Mr. Albanese is living at the moment in this house. Wow, this is just amazing. So if you're visiting Sydney and you definitely want to spend one day in this Sydney Harbour area watching waterfront, Circular Quays, beautiful Sydney Harbour Bridge, Sydney Opera House, and then you need to come and spend significant time at this Botanical Garden. What a colorful combination this is. This is summertime in Australia, and this is the best moment if you want to enjoy the color of the flowers. Wow, look at this pond. This is really pretty, and this bridge is just spectacular. Very nice, very ornamented. So we have concluded our botanical garden tour, and we are walking through this beautiful promenade, and we're going to the Circular Quay station where we'll take the train to our hotel, and then we need to collect our luggage, and then we will be going to the airport for our last stretch going back to home in Hobart. And so it has been more than 3 weeks traveling. We haven't done such a long travel for a long time, and it has been amazing, particularly visiting India, families in Kolkata, and we had an amazing time there. And then Kerala, we had to do that, and we have been waiting for so many years. We always wanted to do that, never had the chance, but finally we could manage it, and that was an amazing experience. Those Kerala videos will be coming very soon, hopefully sometimes mid-February, so please stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe, because then you won't miss any notifications while we share our Sydney videos for now, and then Kerala and Kolkata coming soon. And now we can see the Opera House. While we're walking, we can see the Opera House. One moment you can't see the Opera House, and within few steps the whole thing appears in your front. What a spectacular construction this was. Look at this view. This is just whole Opera House in one frame. This is just fantastic. You need to come to this botanical garden, have a walk on this promenade to enjoy this view. Wow, this is probably one of the best walking paths that you can take, and I think for me it's the best. There is no question about it. Yeah, we have been to many countries, especially Europe, but here it is. This is the best one. Oh, what a wonderful view this is. What a structure this is. This is probably the prettiest building in the world. Today is Saturday, 4th of January. So many people here. It's summertime, and this is the peak of the time when all the people across the world come and visit Sydney. Wow. And there is a massive princess cruise standing there. Maybe Royal Princess. Wow. What a fantastic walking tour we're having. I hope you are enjoying this gorgeous weather, and so that's why we thought we'll just interrupt our Indian videos and post all those extraordinary videos that we are capturing over this weekend. Royal Princess, exactly. Wow. Yesterday we had one Disney Wonders cruise ship. Today we have Royal Princess. Someone is getting married and her dress is flying away. This is the photography spot for wedding planners and photographers. We just came through that long way, and we have Sydney Harbour Bridge and Royal Princess. Massive cruise ship is just standing docked. What a wonderful sight this is. This is just magnificent weekend we're having, and I was just telling, pretty windy, but it's just amazing. Look at this frame. I've got both Sydney Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge in Ornima's background. Wow, this is spectacular. And just to give you a perspective, look at this area. All these areas are sitting areas for different restaurants at waterfront in this Sydney Harbour Circular Quay area. And look at this crowd. This is just booming at the moment. It's full of people. Wow, this is just pretty spectacular. What a wonderful sight this is. There are just so many people at the moment. It's just gorgeous weather, and that particular cruise ship has added at least another 4,000 people to this crowd, and all the areas are different sitting areas for those restaurants, and they're just enjoying extraordinary food at the Circular Quays area, where this view is probably one of the world's best. Wow, this is just fantastic. Yeah, it's getting very hot. It's going to be 35 today. So they're spraying water. Can you see this? They're spraying water. Just cool the area down. Oh, this is Sydney water taxi. Okay.
Going to Darling Harbour.
Going to Darling Harbour. It's pretty bumpy ride today. Thank you very much for watching our travel videos. Goodbye until the next video. Goodbye from Sydney Harbour, Sydney Botanical Garden, Royal Botanical Garden of Sydney.